Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing with the development of the humanoid robot. And in this video I'm going to show you how you can make the actuator for the 5010 motor. So these actuators are going to be used in the robot, and you have to assemble a bunch of these, but I'm going to show you how you can assemble one of these, but the process is pretty much the same for the rest of them. So we're gonna be building this in this video. So I'm gonna place it to the side and I'm gonna bring in a fresh one. So the very first thing you need to do is, as you can see over here in this 3D printed parts, I have added some brass inserts. So you have to add these inserts in these parts. So these are the parts that you need to add the brass inserts in. I'm gonna lay them down side by side. So once again, this is for the 5010 actuator. There's gonna be a separate video for the 6C12 actuators, but you need 4 M3 brass inserts here and 4 M2 on this part, and you're gonna add them in this configuration. You're gonna add M3 here as well, so it's gonna be 6 M3 for this part, and once again 6 M3 brass inserts for this one. These are included in the bill of materials. So these are the M3 brass inserts and these are the M2 brass inserts. So you're gonna be inserting them in there. Make sure it's not your primary soldering iron because the tip is gonna be ruined. Once you heat up the soldering iron, I have inserted a nail over here on this end. You can simply put the brass nut over here and you can press on the brass insert using your soldering iron and it's gonna go in there. If you have the tool for inserting the brass inserts in these 3D printed parts, that's the best way. Alright, so once we have inserted the brass nuts inside of these parts, in the next step we are going to add bearings in this specific part. So they have already mentioned the bearings in the parts list in the bill of materials for the 5010 actuator. So I have them over here. I have the same bearings over here as you can see, and we're gonna insert inside of this part. Alright, so once we have added the first layer of bearings, we need to add spacers on top of this. Now I already went ahead and 3D printed some spacers which I have over here. I'm just gonna grab a few of them from here and I'm gonna add them to the part. Once the spacers are installed, we will add a second layer of bearings on top of the spacers. And lastly, for this part we're gonna add a same bearing over here in the center. So I'm gonna just pick a different color, blue one, and I'm gonna put this in the center. Now we are going to grab these parts and we're gonna add bearings in the center of these. So I will grab 2 bearings from here and we're just gonna insert them in the center of these parts. So first of all, this one, alright, just make sure it's exactly in the center. And now the second one, similarly just insert it inside of here and make sure it's tucked in nicely and it's inside the center, just in the middle of the part. For the next step, we're gonna grab this small part and we're gonna insert both of these on this. So first of all, in the bottom right here, it should snap right in, and next up the other part from the top side, we're gonna snap this in as well. Next up, we're gonna grab this part which we just assembled earlier and we're gonna insert this inside of this part, so it should fit in and snap. It's pretty slippery. It should snap in really nicely. So just insert it and it should snap in. There we go. One important thing you need to do when you're on this step is you need to make sure that this opening is visible. We're gonna be needing this opening to attach the motor assembly later on. So this would be a right way of assembling these parts, and this would be a wrong way to assemble these parts. In the next step, we're gonna pick these two parts. I am going to align these brass nuts on top of the holes, and on the other side we need to screw these in. And for this we're going to be needing M3X25, as it has been mentioned on the bill of materials. You can see here I do have M3X25, so I'm going to be using these. With that, this part is also attached together. Next up, we're gonna grab some bearings and insert inside of this part. We have to insert on both sides, but let's just start with the first one. I'm gonna grab some bearings over here. Actually only these two for now. We'll grab one bearing and insert it in this part. It should snap just right in. Next up, we're gonna turn this around. We will pick this part and we will insert it inside of this part like this, and once again it should snap just right in. We'll now place the second bearing on top of this part like this and snap it in. Next we're gonna grab this part and we'll place it on top of our assembly. We will align the holes using this tool. Just put it in one of these and we'll make sure it fits tightly and snaps with our assembly. And similarly for the other part, this one, we're gonna grab this, make sure the holes are aligned, and we want to make sure it sits perfectly tight on this part, and make sure it's perfectly tight. Next up, we are going to unbox our BLDC motor. I'll grab one motor over here and we'll unbox this. It's a 5010 motor. We are going to open this. Don't need them right now. And here is our BLDC motor. Now alongside this motor, we are also going to be needing some screws from here to attach the motor to the part. I'll just keep them here for now, and I'll place these back inside of the container. M3X25, yep. From these motor parts, I am going to open them up, and we need 4 screws right now. These will be the smaller screws, so I think these are the 4 which we need right now. I'm gonna separate out the remaining parts, put them back inside of the pack. We'll be needing these parts later on for connecting the wires. For now, we'll just place them back inside. With the help of these screws, we're gonna mount this motor on this part right here. So I'm gonna turn the motor around and I'll place this part on top of it. I will align the holes, the 4 holes, and I'll screw them in using these screws we just unboxed. So one thing, we need to add magnet over here. Don't forget that, as the open source team has shared in the documentation. But for now, we want to attach this part on top of this over here. and this thing can be done with the remaining 2 screws that were inside of the pack we just unboxed. So these are the remaining 2 screws. We can use these to attach this part on top of the motor. There's one more thing, we need to attach a hex insert. Now in my case there is a slight issue, which is that these parts do not exactly fit together, so they're not exactly tight. So I will be using some hot glue gun to attach this part precisely inside of this part over here. Okay, so once the hot glue gun is live and ready, I am gonna apply a lot of hot glue onto this part like this, and then while it's in liquefied state, I'm gonna push it in on this part over here. So let's do that. So here, as you can see, you have to make sure it's the right way up, and you have to let it sit for a while. So I'm gonna let this hot glue solidify a bit. So while it's solidifying, I am gonna take 2 screws and I am gonna place them in there, and I'm gonna attach it to the motor down below. So I'm gonna align these, and I'm gonna tighten them. Once that is all done and good, I am gonna apply a lot of hot glue in this opening over here. And while applying the hot glue here, you have to be extra careful not to apply that on this beading over here, because this beading is really important. You don't want to jam this beading. So I'm gonna pick up this hot glue gun over here, and I'm gonna apply some hot glue in the center in this hole. And once that's done, you need to align both of these parts, and you need to press it in there firmly so it sits nicely in there. Next up, you need to align these 4 holes on top with the brass inserts at the bottom like this, and you need to insert M3X55 bolts over here. Now in some cases it's gonna be a really tight fit, and it's not gonna be able to reach all the way down to the brass inserts. In that case, you can use M3X60 nuts to fix everything together. In this case, for this actuator, we have used the longer ones, M3X60, and as you can see, there's slight extrusion from that nut at the bottom part. So if M3X55 does not work for you, you can go for M3X61. Once you've inserted these 4, you need to press the whole assembly down, and while it's somewhat flush, you need to tighten these screws. Be sure to tighten these screws in diagonal format, and don't force it too much, otherwise you might risk breaking off this section of the 3D printed parts. And there you have it, everything fitted perfectly, and you have your 5010 actuator ready. Now if you rotate the motor inside, you can see the top part is rotating, but there's a lot of reduction in between, so the rotation speed of the top part is really slow. So that's it for this video. We need to make a lot of these actuators for this humanoid robot, but the process of making them is exactly the same. I'm gonna be making another video for the M6C12 actuator, and it's gonna be the next video in the series, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching the video, and see you in the next one. Cheers.